which tactic would end up having best results?
Oh yeah,
tactics.
Yeah, the tactic of violating people's privacies and liberties. That has the most optimal way of securing health safeties. How is it not?
If a house is on fire and a firefighter grabs you and carries you out the house, right now you're more concerned that this firefighter violated your by touching you versus pulling you out to safety. That's your first concern. That is a higher priority.
We're talking about quarantine. I'm not talking about firefighting. We're talking about quarantining. And I'm saying that in the guise of quarantining, and which my question gets to when we talk about invasive technology, when we're talking about quarantining, the most optimal way of having control measures surrounding a virus is to basically technically violate people's privacies and liberties.
Yeah,
you have to basically do that. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I'm not.
The way you keep presenting it is violent.
It doesn't matter the way I present it. It's the truth, though.
No.
See, how is it not violating people's privacies and liberty?
Here's the thing.
No, that's what it's doing.
That's what it's doing.
Oh Jesus! Can I answer the question?
Go ahead.
There's a difference between violating it by taking something away from you because for no reason at all. And there's a whole nother thing of overriding your quote unquote rights and privileges for the better of the greater good. So for instance, when you travel, right? When you travel and the fact of a cop can stop you, all right, even though you have the freedom to go as you please, the cop can stop you and hold you, if you seem to be a threat for some sort of reason, if you are suspected of theft, murder, this, that, whatever the case may be. That temporary suspension or override of your quote-unquote rights maybe what's in the best interest of us all. And that's the thing about when you live in a society, you are not on your own. You are part of society. So the whole thing is the society as a whole overrides your individual quote unquote rights and privileges.
At the end of the day, Schubert, you're still eliminating someone's privacies and liberty, regardless how you want to.
The fucking woods.
I'm not saying,
live in the fucking woods. Don't live.
However whatever the nuance you want to spin on
the football team, you can't say,
whatever
that I want to run.
However you want to put, flowers around it. That's what it's when you basically violate the flowers around it. But what I'm saying,
acknowledging the fact that you can't have everything.
Okay, and what I'm saying, but ultimately, what I said wasn't wrong. The only way you could eradicate any virus to the magnitude in which these people are suggesting is to eliminate the concept of privacy and liberty. I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I am just pointing out the true obvious nature of what it will take. Okay. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. I'm not saying that's what it ultimately is doing. That you're eliminating the very concept of people's fundamental idea of what privacy and liberty truly looks like. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm for it.
You understand that privacy and liberty is an idea.
Dog,
you know that quarantining is basically imprisoning people.
Yeah, that's all it is. Like I'm not.
Nothing else is putting people in prison.
And dog, you and I had the discussion before in regards of traveling to foreign places, and what I agree that I do believe that there should be measures of quarantining when you be traveling and shit. That's just me, and I'm glad you agree with me with that. Is that a form of violating? I would even acknowledge, yes, your privacy and liberty will be violated or eliminated if you decide to go to some West Bubblefuck Island that nobody ever heard of and we don't have fucking vaccines for. Yes, I'm for that. I'm just saying that that's what it ultimately is. It's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, and thankful to you and these conversations that we've had, and even this book. Even I was shocked that I came to that conclusion last week when we were talking. I think that was my question or Kelvin's question when we were talking about foreign traveling. That even I came to that agreement. Like, yes, we got to quarantine. Like the idea of quarantining.
What they do to the immigrants when they come over here?
It depends if you come south of the border, right?
Yeah, they basically quarantining your ass, though, right?
Yeah. Like I believe
in an encampment and said you got to stay here and you can't go nowhere. You got to you got to abide by what we tell you until we tell you can do something different.
Yeah,
I get everything you're saying. The reality is I don't believe in private these concepts of privacy and independence and rights and all. It's all imaginary. It's all imaginary.
Nigga, all right, it's imaginary. Share me your bank account, nigga. Can I get your bank account and your credit card?
It only exists within society. And the thing is that because society gives it to you, society can take it away. The only way society cannot take it away from you is if you go live out in the woods of West Bubblefuck, because then you are not part of society. So society can't give you something or take something away from you that that doesn't exist.
No, I
hold on. All right. So on that, along those lines, do you think? So does that expand to like how you run your individual household? Like how you run your household, there's no privacy in that, like based on.
So, sir, let's put it like this.
Where's the limit? Question is, where's the limitation? Where's the limitation?
Answer right quick, because
go ahead, Smith.
I'm thinking that just like I don't know. I've been watching a bunch of documentaries, but just say that you come into contact with another entity, they're going to come and get your ass. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like. Your freedoms ain't like what Black Zeus is saying. There ain't no freedom because they're going to come and get your ass.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and you got to be where the fuck they going to take. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a falsehood of what we got our freedoms and our liberties.
That's all I'm saying.
That's why when we want to wear a mask or not want to wear it, we want to really cry about this shit because we feel like we're free to say that.
Exactly.
No, and I get that. That's why I said that.
It's like me being married, right? You know, when I'm single, I can go and come as I please. But once I became married, you know, technically I don't have to ask my wife permission or sign a piece of paper or whatever the case is to go out and come back. But the whole thing is there is an underlying understanding like, hey, you are part of something now, and there's some rules and guidelines. And guess what? You might have to answer to where you're going. You might have to say, hey, how much money did you spend when you went out? This, that, and the other. All of that goes out the window once it becomes part of a bigger group. And
I get that. So my next follow-up question will be is, should American public school system teach that, there's no such thing as individualism?
Depends on how you define it. If you
depends on how you
so here's the, if you're talking about individualism as part of like what your beliefs are, how you feel about things, what you think about things, what you like, what you don't like, no one can take that away from you. That is your mind, that is your personal beliefs, that is your personal viewpoint, your epistemology.
But there's thought police. There's the PC police.
That's what I'm going to say.
Okay, go ahead, continue. My bad. My apologies. Continue.
When it comes to that, I don't believe in thought police. It's like, listen, whether somebody likes what I think or I don't like what somebody, they're entitled to believe and think whatever the fuck they want to think. That is their individuality.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the whole thing is how they interact within the group is a whole nother thing. Now, are you going to put your hands on me because I'm black? Are you going to tell me I got to sit the back of the line because I'm male? That's where we have a problem, because now we're not talking about you as an individual, we're talking about how you are affecting society, because you are not part of a society. You follow me?
Yeah, I think you would still teach the individualism though, because those individuals make part of the greater whole. You know what I mean? Like, yes. You got to be the individual to take out to be the garbage man. Somebody got to be the individual to be the fucking plumber. We still need these individual. No, but that's no.
The whole thing is that is not being an individual. That is being part of society.
Yeah, part of
society needs the garbage man.
Correct.
Society needs this, that, and the other. Now,
but that's what you need the individual
in your own home, you are the garbage man, you are the cook, you are the this, you are the that, and you can decide, hey, I'm not gonna take out the garbage. I'm just gonna live in trash and filth. Hey, I'm not gonna cook. I'm gonna order out. That is complete within you. But when you are within society and you are in the neighborhood, hey, Bradley, I noticed that the garbage is filling up in the back behind your house there, and it's attracting rodents.
Clean that shit up.
That's coming up to my house and bring my property value down.
Or cut your grass.
Clean that shit the fuck up.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Nah, like I agree. Like to be honest, I'm not gonna front. I've come a long way in these discussions with you. Even this book has made me come to realize that, you know, yes, when you're part of a greater society, there is an obligation for you to adhere to what is in best practice for the society. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say, I think school systems, because, you know, we all grow up hearing these grandiose, you know, metaphors, or not metaphors, but cliches to say that, you know, liberty, justice, and all that other nonsense. Right. And it's just like, should that be more challenged for someone growing up? Because you got a lot of people out here that I've read online that do challenge the whole quarantining, and I'm like, quarantining is not bad, but like you do have the extremists that say like none of this shit should be happening. People should just do as they please. And I think it's rooted in that whole privacy and liberty thing. And I don't think that gets challenged enough as a youth or in the public education system to let people understand how, you know, that thing is a falsehood, you know.
And the doing who please thing sounds good, but that's like, with your child, you gotta protect your child. You're not gonna let them make certain choices that's going to fucking endanger their lives. You know
exactly.
I mean? It seems like it's a cool thing, but no, motherfucker, you're gonna endanger your life, which is gonna endanger other people's lives, and we can't have that.
Yeah, and I think America has this issue, and I think this is why we've been having the issues with quarantining, in addition to like I think the compensation aspect, but I think it's the ideology surrounding privacy and you're
not going to tell me
liberty. Yeah, like that you're not going to tell me what because we all bit into that. Like we all talk about our constitutional rights, and like I said, I appreciate Schubert's been challenging me over the past year and some change on this, because the more I wrap my head around it, and even last week, I surprised the hell out of myself agreeing with Schubert about the quarantining thing and traveling and stuff. And I think is that challenging, because most people, especially when you talk about people who are really patriots to that degree, they don't see it that way. And I don't think they get their ideologies challenged to that magnitude. But what do we think about to my question though? Like, so what do you think about the invasive technology solutions that the authors present in chapter 9? Like, I didn't present any examples, but they talked about how
technologies are already here, because I was just talking about that.
Is my question chapter 9? Go ahead, Black Zeus.
I was just talking about that with my in-laws, where one of my in-laws received like a message from the health department saying, hey, would you like to be part of this, you know, basically this technology that would be tracking you and where you go, this, that, and the other. So if you should get sick, or if you should come in contact with someone, you'll be notified right away, because those other people that also agree to this would be, you know, they would be tracked, or they would be automatically, you know, traced like through their phone or through their, you know, Apple Watch or whatever the case may be. And that way it can streamline how easy it is to track people and let them know, hey, you got COVID or you were exposed to COVID, X, Y, and Z. And as we're talking about it, it makes a lot of logical sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if society, especially an American society, is ready to accept such a thing, because the fact of, once again, we go right back to our privacy and liberties. You know? So the whole thing is, it's like we seem to not understand that there is a very tricky fine line between privacy and liberty and safety and security. You know, safety and security will always...
There's the fine line, but that's really tricky.
The fine line, here's the thing. Safety and security will always require some sacrifice of your privacy and liberty.
Exactly.
You can't have one without the other. It's just how it works.
Yeah.
I can't sit there and promise that you'll be safe on this plane, and then it won't crash into a building unless I go through your bags, unless I push you through a metal detector, unless I pat you down.
I think the problem with it is just the knowing that you don't really have privacy, and then once you understand that part, it's easier to deal with. And I think a lot of people think they have that false sense of privacy. Like, you don't have that. Our phones are tracked, our conversations, Alexa know what you just did. Like, all that shit is, the technology is already invasive. You know what I mean?
Well, here's my thing, right? My thing is this, is that, think of it like this. What is it that you're trying to keep private? Where you been? Really? When people post all that shit on Facebook?
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
No,
you know.
What if you're having a marital affair? And now Google.
There's some things that you want to keep private because some bullshit.
No, that's still not. Here's the thing.
You know what I mean?
Let's say you're having a marital affair, right?
Yeah.
You're going to hook up with your boo, your side piece, whatever case is.
Yeah.
Somebody see you leaving the house. Somebody see you coming back.
But they don't.
So they're still. They don't know where you went, and you can lie about it. But how long is that going to hold?
But that's what I'm saying. No one truly knows, but yourself. If you're carrying your cell phone and like you haven't, and
here's the thing: the government
and the data tells you exactly where you are.
The government does not care. The government does not care who you fucking.
Now
the government doesn't care. You know,
it could be on some.
No, but look, this is the problem this is a problem that Cash had. So the government don't care who I'm fucking, but I end up fucking this person who ends up dead. Now the government does care, and they just pinged my phone that I was there at this time, but I didn't kill this motherfucker.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Listen.
See how that all works.
So that's why the person ended up dead. Wouldn't you want the government to have every resource to find your killer?
No. Listen to what I'm saying. I get that, but that's where the privacy issue arises also.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, understand that I know better. Like, if I'm going to do some bullshit, first of all, I would probably either have a burner phone or no phone at all. I'm just saying, like, it ain't like.
Hold on. It's not just your phone, bro. Your car, because Kelvin got his.
Oh no, but see, that's what I know. I wouldn't be on the car. I would have to not be by Ring doorbells. I would have because.
That's a lot to duck out.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. There's a lot, yo. Your car.
I told y'all the guy came to my house that killed his father and shit.
Yeah, you told that story. Yeah.
So he's still locked up, right? But that's what they did. They basically followed this motherfucker's shit back by looking at people's doorbells, bruh. They looked at our fucking camera and just kept going down the block looking at different cameras that track his shit. So already, like I said, the false sense of privacy you don't have. You know what I mean? With the satellites above our head, there is no privacy. With the drones flying around, there is no privacy. So you might think you're being private, but
once again, at the end of the day, the whole thing is that unless you're doing some truly shady shit,
like trying to kill the president,
like killing your dad or whatever the case is, or, like
embezzling funds,
like what are you really trying to hide?
I get what you're saying, that unless you do some egregious shit.
I'm trying to hide my Pornhub history. Shit.
Yeah, dog.
Don't nobody care.
For instance,
I know you don't think nobody care, but I'm trying to hide it. Listen, most times, what happens in death is when secrets are revealed. Okay. That's when the other family members come around that you didn't know you had a sister or a brother. That's when the mistresses come out. That's where the bills get. Like, death shows the secrets. You know what I mean?
Okay. So
people still want to have their own.
But you dead and gone. So what you got to worry about?
Privacy. You know what I mean?
But you dead and gone. So what you got to worry about?
Now I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want you to know.
You don't want to be embarrassed? You're dead.
I want you to know that I had a dildo that I call Bobby. Yeah, fuck you up with that. Right?
Yeah, but dog, the reason why I care is because the shit could go way left. So
that's my problem.
China has what is called the social credit system. If you don't know about it, I will send some videos. I'm not gonna play all of them, but I remember watching a handful of these social credit videos.
I don't know about it, but I want to say that I watched the episode of Social Credit in Black
in Black Mirror. China's been doing this a couple of years before that Black Mirror episode, so I'm glad you know. It can get to the point where, like let's say you go
That's
to the.
what I don't like about it, Cash. I don't like the invasiveness of the private because you can flip it and you manipulate it now. That's
exactly.
And I hear you on that. I'm not disagreeing. I get it. It's the whole enemy of the state.
And as militant as you are, Black Zeus, if you become more militant, guess what? Now your privacy is they're going to keep coming at your ass. Like I don't appreciate that, and I don't like that.
Yeah, like so
it does happen.
You see this thumbnail? It's kind of flashy. So like. This is actual story about in China. This one lady, she was frequenting a liquor store, and because she was frequenting a liquor store,
her social score went down.
Her social score went down, bro. And you know what that did? That impacted everything else, like her insurance, her mortgage rate. Like that's how far this shit could go. And sometimes when you talk like that, people look at you like you crazy. China is doing this shit
you know
as we speak.
I'm not gonna say that's not possible.
Wait.
I'm not gonna say that's not possible. I'm not gonna say that's not possible because I would,
it keeps it critical.
7-8 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that we would have been doing this he, she, them, they, her, this shit that we doing now.
Or somebody claiming that they got groped in a fucking virtual reality.
Yeah, like I would have thought like there's no way. So I'm not gonna say that would not happen. But
I got a question for you, Black Zeus.
That is where we have to have the diligence as an American people and look out for one another and say, hey, what are the things that are going to be dangerous towards our safety and security, and the things that are dangerous towards our privacy and liberties.
Yeah, check this out though, right?
But that requires work that people don't want to do.
Wait, are there numbers down, Cash? With the COVID because of this fucking social credit system that will fuck you up if you're not abiding by those fucking guidelines?
That could be another reason too.
Because this
like if you violate quarantining, you basically dinged 1,000 or like 100 points, and then next thing you know, you can't do shit.
You can't do shit. You can't even rent a car. Well, I'm just saying. I'm
tell you, bro. But we already
send me that because I want to look at that.
Yeah, I find there was one that was it was like an hour long on China's social credit. Yo, bro, it's crazy. Like their technology watches everything. And this lady went to the liquor store twice and they dinged her shit, bro, just because they assumed that she was a fucking alcoholic.
That shit is really like Black Mirror, yo. That shit, the one that you got on China ranks good and bad.
Yeah.
Social credit.
There's one from Vice News. China's social credit system has caused more than just public shaming. Like it's basically like that's the shit.
You just talk because you're a married man and you just talk to that woman.
Yeah,
it's
now you get shamed. Hello to the woman and they thought you was flirting.
Yeah, exactly.
I just said good morning to her. Fuck.
So it's just like
I get it. It's governmental cancel culture. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we like to talk the way we like to talk, but what if, someone's listening and say like, you know what? I don't even like what Black Zeus just said right now. Minus this nigga 100 points.
Yeah. And then but then that's the thing. Everybody that don't like it, you get minus points, and next thing you know, your credit is minus 6,000.
Yeah. Now next thing you trying to rent a car or buy a car, either your interest rate is sky high or you can't even buy the car. Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck? Put your finger here, sir.
Yo, when people talked about Black Mirror, people said, yo, this is happening right now in China.
I was like, yo, that Black Mirror was real as hell when I watched it.
That Black
years ago.
That Black Mirror shit is straight up China as we speak. Like China's social credit score system has banned people from traveling, bro.
Yeah, that's
traveling. True. That's why I said, like, I get.
So you're telling me a country that has that type of control over its people couldn't control it to the point where out of billions of people, they only got 5,000 saved? I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Well, that's what I said. I think the whole social credit thing might have something to do with why they.
I don't know, bro. That seems like a lot of power and a lot of control to get the numbers that you're talking about.
When you snatch
America has less people,
and
had a higher number, and they just let everybody just do whatever the fuck they want to do.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying because you look at the positive, like when we specifically are keeping to this book and quarantining and eliminating or eradicating viruses. Yes, that measure seems ideal, but
China will kick our ass, bro. Just to let you know.
But then,
we got 329, and we can't get together for shit.
But then again, as this book, what I do appreciate that this book is the abuses of government.
They are Chinese, motherfucker. I just want you to know that.
That is true. There are monoliths. So
in America, we're not all considered Americans.
Like we're not a monolith over here. So but the thing is, you got to look at the other side of the coin of that, how China operates. It's just say like, are you willing to even be thought police like that? Like these motherfuckers are being thought police, bro.
Oh yeah, you can't.
I'm not saying I'm willing to.
I'm just saying that in there.
I'm just saying the fact of like people are detrimental to themselves.
That's
what it boils down to.
But that's how the Chinese government look at it. Like, think about it. They banned any shit that looks effeminate. We talked about that. What else did they ban? They banned some shit recent. Like, we talked about a lot of shit China has banned. Now, we've agreed with it, but philosophically speaking, we also see that it is troublesome. So, like, they're kind of controlling the way people behave and think. That is not even necessarily harmful to the masses of people. So it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I could lean with this sort of technology. I don't know if I could lean with this sort of like dictatorship to.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
Oh, so part of it, because you got me going down that rabbit hole. I'm going down that when we get off of here. But so the people get punished if they drive badly, if they buy too many video games, if they steal.
Yeah. That was a video game story we talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, like they get ranked on this system based off of things that. You know, if Black Zeus sees me crossing the street in between cars, not at the corner, I get written up on this social system. That's crazy to me in a sense, though.
Yo, bro, if you go, I'm glad you. I know you're gonna go down a rabbit hole with this. Once you go really deep, you're gonna be like, yo, this shit is insane.
It is.
But. To your point, Black Zeus.
That's why everybody wants.
Is this the betterment for society? And I don't. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie and say I have a definitive answer for that because I got to give it more thought because it could be. But at the same time, are you losing individualism in this society? In this sort of society, are you losing your individualism as a person? Because I don't know, man. You know, I look at
yo, that's crazy.
So as a person who is part of, who's been part of military units, who's part of quote unquote a secret society, I understand that when you are part of society, you are part of the hive. All right. That's actually a symbol within our society, is the beehive. And that when you are part of the beehive, you're part of the colony. You have a job to do. You have a responsibility to the greater good of the entire hive. Now if you are an individual when you're on your own, but when functioning within the hive, you have a responsibility to the hive, because the whole thing is, if everyone just started doing whatever the hell they want, the hive would fall apart.
I agree. I agree. There's no disagreement. Yeah, you're right.
But the whole thing is just the fact of you really don't want any extreme. You don't want to go extreme right. You don't want to go extreme left. You don't want to go extreme top and burn with the sun. You don't want to fly too close to the sun and have your wings melt, but you don't want to fly too low and crash into the sea. You want to find a middle ground. And that's the thing. Is our society is not built on middle ground. Our society is hard left, hard right, hard liberal, hard conservative, hard black or nothing, white or nothing. It's just like there is no medium, and this will always fail. Every single time people have done it, it fails in any capacity.
Hey, Black Zeus, before I ask you this question, could you live in China? Would you be willing to live in China, understanding what's going on over there?
That's a good question.
Would I be willing to live in China?
Would you be willing to live in China?
If I was Chinese, yes.
Of course, he's asking you. I need a diss nigga bucket.
If you was Chinese, bitch, you have to live over there because they don't be letting y'all go free, motherfucker.
No.
Once a Chinaman, always a China.
Hear me out. If I was an Asian American,
okay,
born in China, born here in America, and I was of Asian descent, and I knew I could go to China, with the lockdowns and the controls system, I think I might do it.
I think I might not. I'm looking at
because I believe a little bit more in China's ideals. I believe in some American ideals.
But I'm looking at
a lot of American ideals are just that, ideals. They're not realistic.
They're not realistic. Some of them are real,
and they might not fall flat on their own face.
They realistic. Some of them might not be considered tangible. But look, check this out, Black Zeus. Overspending or associating with the wrong people could lower your score.
Okay.
You get financial and social restrictions on you based off a fucking score because you decided to talk to Kelvin Henry and he's a jokester or a jester. That gets your score lowered because you decided that you wanted to wine and dine your wife and they thought that you overspent. They thought you overspent. You spent within your means, but they like, nah, you spent too much, dog. That's a little problematic. And I didn't even know that they started trials in 2009.
Bro, I'm telling you.
They got this shit with 8 credit scoring. Yo, we got like Fairfax. We got what? Equifax. I forget all
Equifax.
Equifax. Yeah. Shit we got a few, right?
Yeah.
We got TransUnion, Equifax, and
Yo, they got 8 credit scoring firms just for social credit score. There's 8 different firms that just for your social credit score.
Yeah, so but we're also 1/3 of their population.
No, so I get that. That's
why not have three times as many, you know.
But what I think what Smith is getting at is they're not monitoring your financial wellness. They're monitoring who you are as a person.
Your behavior.
Your behavior. To society.
Your behavior all the technology and everything.
Like you writing that email to Tyler's teacher the way you were sarcastically,
bingo.
That would have dinged you.
You dinged. Exactly.
I get that.
But what I'm saying, I look at this shit, yo, because I'm going to look at this in full detail. Yo, they know because they got it in the UK and then, you know, it's going to get over to America at some point.
Of course.
I don't think it's not going to come over here.
We're not immune to that shit, yeah.
Started off with some old light shit like, oh no, we're just trying
to listen. You don't think that's going to happen on social media anyway?
Well,
I'm sure it's already happening on social
media. No. But the thing is, I read an article regarding this. This quarantine shutdown kind of opened the floodgates for it. Think about it.
Yeah.
I talked about what was considered misinformation. You had credible doctors, and I think this goes into your question, Schubert, in regards of well, I think what was the question you had? People relying on where is it? Shit.
With all the money and resources being used by the government to
like
do me one favor.
What's up?
I'm gonna send y'all this quiz.
But I'll continue talking. But what I'm saying is they've already dinged people on misinformation. You don't think they're gonna take that even further beyond COVID? And in regards to like what they would consider misinformation, this was just the beginning. This whole quarantine shit was just the beginning as to what you saw as if you were somebody who believed in certain aspects, limitations of the government and how the government overstepped, and we kind of allowed for this overstep. This is just the beginning.
Let me share it right quick.
All right.
I put it in the chat, but I wanted to share this with you all. I want you all to see what I want you all to take. I'm going to tell Mr. Henry to take this too. We're going to see where we at. We're going to see if we can survive this China thing. So what it is,
I shared it with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what we're looking at, right?
Let me see.
You can see it. It says, could you survive the social credit score?
Could you see it? Let me see. Did I share my screen right?
It says I'm screen sharing.
You are screen. Why can't I see the shit?
Hey, Black Zeus, you can't see that?
Let me see.
I'm still seeing the same screen that Bradley showed before.
Hold up. Am I not sharing right? Let me see. Multiple.
Stop it. Oh, you sharing something. Yeah, you sharing something. I'm viewing your screen. You sharing Medusa's head.
Yeah. Multiple. All right. It says I clicked on multiple participants can share simultaneously. You should be able to. Let me click on your link. Let me fuck it. Let me just open it.
Why don't you just show it, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah, you show it, Brad. Yeah.
All right.
So this is what it was, though. It's you see what it is, right? It says, could you survive the social credit score? They said they start you with the average social credit rating of 475. Find out if your actions would lead to rewards or punishment. So I would like for us to take this quiz just because I'm curious to know, will we die in China or will we live?
Yeah, I already got negative 75 points for criticizing the government, bro.
You know
I already got on social media.
Oh, yeah,
all right, next question.
Score to 400 already, huh?
Yeah, my shit dropped to 400. All right.
Yeah. So it's 10 questions, but I would like for us to, you can report back next week, but I'm just curious.
Yeah,
wow. You can't live in China, bro.
Have you ever shared an article without you?
I already took the Chinese IQ test and passed with a high score. So
I brought my shit back up. I brought it back up.
You got 75.
How many times do you say?
Damn, you're about to lose a bunch of points.
See, I spent a good deal of time on YouTube, but they don't list YouTube on.
It says streaming TV, films, and
spend streaming TV. I see, but I don't watch TV. I watch.
It's the same thing, brother. It's the same thing. He trying to justify it. Look, they don't like you playing video games. They want you to be a robot.
Yes, I've ran a couple of stop signs and red lights.
Going down a lot. Fuck. Like,
yeah,
but also remember, China about to take over the world and everything.
See, look,
just remember that. Y'all better start. Brushing up on your Mandarin.
Would you accept military service if it was requested of you?
No.
Oh shit,
nigga, I'm not about to be part of this. Have you ever missed a bill payment? Nah, I never missed a bill.
Yeah.
All right.
That ain't really help your score though. Oh,
yeah, it did. I'm still 175, bro.
You good at saving money? Yes.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
50.
Yes, I don't give a fuck.
But how would you know that Black Zeus is going to lower your credit score?
Yo, like, who the fuck is anybody to tell me that I can't associate with somebody? Yo.
Get results. Yeah, you suck.
I know, right?
That's terrible. You will get no credit. You look. Yo, but check it out. You'll be publicly named and shamed as a bad citizen. They stop you from securing the best available jobs, the inability to apply for credit cards, your children being prevented from attending the best schools and further their education, your limited public transportation and airline access. You get throttled internet speed, so your internet ain't even.
What's up? Yeah, couldn't even do Zoom.
And you're restricted access to dating sites. Like, what the hell? That's crazy as hell, man.
Bro, this is happening in China, yo.
I know. That's why I saw that. I was like, yo,
I caught a whiff of this dude. This dude that Vice did a interview with this dude who was like, yo, everything that's listed here, this dude was banned from doing. Like, he was the subject of this shit. This dude lives in some little tent shack because his social credit score is shitty, bro. This motherfucker, yo, it's horrible over there, man. I don't know if I could ever do. I commend them. If you want to truly believe the quarantine and coronavirus numbers that's coming out of China, I commend them for doing it. Obviously, we know what goes behind that in order for them to pull that shit off. But Smith, you kind of just opened my eyes up. It could be due to the fact that they could be dinging motherfuckers' social credit scores in order to enforce the quarantine measures. So that's why you probably got as much compliance as you do.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fuck up my credit score.
Exactly. So it's like, I get, it's like you said, this is a hard one. This is a hard philosophical one. I hope I'm dead, long and gone before this really goes into fruition. But unfortunately, this look like this is right around the corner, and we're just gonna have to deal with it. But I do appreciate that you did challenge, not just in this book, but over the months, you challenged my ideas or ideals around privacy and liberty, and how it's nice in theory, but it's not a thing in practice.
So my question
is not a thing in practice. So I've come a long way, Black Zeus. I should get an applause, but let me clap myself.
Hey, how many points did you lose for joking someone in the metaverse?
Welcome to the dark side, Fred.
But I will say this though, all this other shit, I don't know, man.
Listen, I'm not agreeing with all this shit. All I'm saying is that if if all of us as citizens started policing ourselves and saying like, hey, are my actions
in line?
Are my actions are good for the greater cause of it all? Everything from, starting what we talked about this many times, people having multiple children that they cannot support, to vaccination, to education, to being a outstanding citizen. If everyone did that on their own, you won't need government to do it.
True.
But because we say, oh, everybody should have the freedom to do whatever they want, regardless of the impact it has on society, this is where we're at. So we're either going to fail as society altogether, because we're just like, oh, let everybody do what they want to do, be what they want to be, and we're not going to have any type of law and order and no type of logic and reasoning. It'll just be complete chaos. Or we'll have complete militant, dictatorship.
Yeah.
It seems like we don't want to just find that ground on our own because we're not having these type of conversations and having a real understanding of the fact that every one of us are a pixel in the tapestry. And if one pixel starts acting a fool and then another one starts acting a fool, there's no longer a Mona Lisa. It's just one big blob of paint.
Yeah, one big blob of paint.
That's deep. I don't got a deep button. Okay, fuck it. I ain't got it. All right, I gotta make sure I gotta download one of those shits.
That's deep.
I mean, like I said, I'm coming from the perspective of being part of bigger organizations than myself.
Yeah.
And understanding the fact of that within those organizations, I play a small part, but my small part is
a significant one.
No, it's a large part. Yeah, I'm about to say it's a large, small part.
Yeah, it's a significant part.
Still causes
every
ripples.
cog has a job. Like at the end of the day, all that shit works together. Like that's the
it still causes ripples. Yeah. And that's
so like
the thing.
Your question, like, why is it that many citizens rather give more trust to random self-proclaimed experts than experts with no equal level of knowledge, experience, or resources on the internet? I can't speak to answer. This is the last question that Schubert has, Smith. It's the third one. I can't speak to everyone. I don't know, but I can only speak to people who probably thinks along the lines that I think when it comes to listening to the so-called experts that is appointed by the government. It goes back to the book we read in regards to Think Again by Adam Grant. Shout out to that author, and shout out for Kelvin even for selecting that book. Is when science is not being discussed and questioned at large. Recently Dr. Fauci found himself under more scrutiny regarding email leaks that suggested that he tried to silence other doctors who have the similar backgrounds and expertise, and other doctors who have a different approach when it comes to this so-called virus. I think for me, the credibility, we talked about how the CDC lost their credibility in the past. And I think for me, the question comes in when shit doesn't make any sense. Like, for instance, the first glaring thing that made me even say, yo, the CDC don't know what the fuck they're talking about, is when the protest was happening back in May and June of last year. They were saying how racism trumped the virus. And I'm like, how, Sway? And they were saying, like, motherfuckers, we should allow people to protest. And I'm like, but we're in a fucking pandemic. This is coming from the CDC, who's saying, there's just certain things that are bigger than a virus, such as tackling racism.
Yeah.
What? I understand wanting to have the conversation around racism, but when you start spewing that type of nonsense, I'm going to look at you as an agency sideways. And then obviously, you could chime in with what you want to say, Smith, regarding that. But it's just like, and then on top of that, as someone who does a lot of reading and does a lot of research and come across other doctors, other medical sites that has, credible, to make you understand how these viruses work, and also understand that, hey, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, despite how the CDC and Dr. Fauci come on TV and like to always scare you with fucking cases and shit and not look at the positives and shit. It's like, yo, you kind of have to, for me, I had the ability to at least decipher what is credible and not credible information. I can't speak for everyone else, but, I think that's what tends to happen when the CDC and Dr. Fauci seems, when they can't explain to you why Texas, after basically saying, yo, fuck your mandates and restriction, wasn't fucking inundated with fucking cases to the,
Florida also, you'd be like,
Florida, you like, yo, what is happening? And Fauci goes on television and he can't explain that away. Meanwhile, there's other doctors who could legitimately explain why that could be. So,
but I also think that, like, what the question was asking, like, why do so many citizens rather get more trust of random self-proclaimed experts? Because if I got an argument, I can find somebody who supports my shit on the internet. So
that's true.
If you can support my argument, I'd rather give credence to that than to something that disproves what I'm saying. So I don't want to listen to the scientist who's saying something against what I'm saying. I want to find the person on the internet who says exactly what I'm saying. It needs to be right.
Validates my theory. My whole thing is this: as we're reading this book, and you're understanding how much money, how much effort, how many organizations are working behind the curtain that we don't even think about because we are living our everyday lives. When they were talking about how there was they were running experiments and with animals, this, that, and the other. And when those animals were done with, they would be liquefied, all right? And they would, the contaminants would be burned and run underneath the city while people are sleeping. They have no idea this is going on for their protection, all right? That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of money, a lot of infrastructure, all right? That is being spent, that's being worked on, that's constantly going. And you're comparing, a large entity such as the government or such as the CDC, the WHO, and so forth and so on, to local doctors who have a limited resource, a limited view, a limited perspective, on this. You know what I mean? And it's just like, how do you compare the two? I'm not saying that they don't have some validity in what they're saying. I'm not. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
No. I just wanted to chime in and say that they got a PhD.
I'm not saying that there isn't some validity into what they're saying, but the whole thing is their view of things may be very narrow. The whole thing is that if I come really close to the camera and put my eyeball on the camera, all you're gonna see is my eyeball. You're not gonna see my nose. Right now you can't see my feet. But if your viewpoint is his feet don't exist, and I'm telling you my feet do exist, but you're like, well, show me. It's like, what?
Floating head.
Exactly. So the whole thing is you have a limited view and resource to what you can do versus I have an endless resource to what I can do. And the whole thing is maybe, considering the fact that, yes, always remember that the health department, the FDA, the CDC, all these are still government organizations, and they still have to answer to politicians who are making legislation and mandates and so forth and so on, and they want to be reelected, and they are going to curtail what you say and how you say it to the American public because they don't want to lose their position. So the whole thing is, if let's say with Trump, right? When Trump said, hey, we'll have a vaccine in 6 months, and Fauci was right there and said, no, Mr. President, it'll be more like 18, At that moment, if Trump could have said, shut the fuck up, nigga, he would have. He would have, even though Fauci was trying to give actual information. And I'm sure after that little incident happened, I'm sure he went back and said, listen, motherfucker, When I'm talking to the people, you shut the fuck up. Okay? you say whatever makes me look good, okay? And that's the sad thing, is the fact of, because this is not a complete system of logic and reasoning. A lot of it is based on the American people's feelings. If they it's this, that, and the other. Instead of it being, like you said, based on the science.
But then if that's the case that you're making, and you're establishing that these entities, these health government entities, are being facilitated by what politicians are, what they have to say is being facilitated by what politicians are telling them to do, then why run this whole campaign of misinformation against credible doctors?
Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that they're running misinformation, not running misinformation. All I'm saying is the fact of looking at it realistically, right? The whole thing is, these doctors may say, hey, listen, the virus is not as contagious as we think it is, right? And the government's like, hey, we think that this thing is a little bit more contagious than what it is, and it can cost us a lot of money. So we're going to shut you up, because the fact that until we can get control of this, we don't want you telling people something different and giving a multiple view. So, for instance, there is a story where a kid, he's in college, he's in a professor's class. Let's say it's about some sort of like science or whatever the case is, right? And the kid in the professor's class goes off like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I just saw a thing on the Sci-Fi Network, and it said that this, that, and the other. This is the newest thing, and you going by these books that are like 10 years old, and blah blah blah." And he, the whole thing is the professor kicks him out of the class, and then the professor talks to him later, like, "Look, when I'm in the middle of teaching my lesson, you don't disturb my lesson and cause disharmony in my class." Two is the fact of that information that you got, I don't know where you got it from, how legitimate it is, and I haven't verified it for myself before I can go along and teach it. So until I know that information for myself, and before I go and be the authority in the class and tell them X, Y, and Z, I need to get that information for myself. Now, if you want to share it directly with me, and then I can vet it and then share it to the class, that's different. But if you want to override me in my class and share this information without me vetting it, that's not going to happen. And that's the same thing with the government and Falcon.
But here's the problem, because this comes down to even my last question in regards to how much trust do you have in the government, and whether or not, because let me just read my question real quick. It's pretty much the question is in the epilogue, since Schubert was so emphatic about everyone reading this goddamn epilogue. So I read it. I listened to it. And basically the author discussed the importance of trust between the government agencies and its citizens to have better quarantine measures. Now that we are 2 years into our existing pandemic, where do you see this relationship between the government and the citizens going forward? And, I do like the example that you presented with the student who apparently watched some shit on some science network and what the teacher has to say. And obviously, there's rules and rankings, and there needs to be, you can't cause chaos and confusion. But at this point, the way I look at it is, I don't ever trust any government like that. That's the problem. And when I see that you're going out of your way not to disprove a doctor in regards of what they have to say, you're completely shutting them down from citing their scientific information. That's where the antennas and the alarms ring for me, because the United States is basically the premise of the United States, or the ideas of the United States, is not only like privacy and liberty, but also the ability to the First Amendment allows you to have this sort of freedom of speech or freedom of news and stuff like that. And when I see this sort of discrediting of doctors without necessarily disproving the scientific information, but by silencing them, that's when I'm like, I don't know, man. And being a black person in America, I've never trusted this fucking government. So why should I even start now in regards to who fucking Dr. Fauci is when he has historically has gotten shit wrong, and trusting the United States government in regards of how information is facilitated to the American people? Like, they lied to us about Vietnam. They lied to us about the Afghanistan war. And I'm supposed to now trust them about a pandemic? Like, I'm sorry, dog. Like, that sort of thing is just like, I get you don't want chaos. You want one uniform voice. But if it wasn't for dissenting voices, then we wouldn't have the epiphany or the revelation that we have with Afghanistan. We wouldn't have the epiphany or the revelation that we have with the Vietnam War. Or we wouldn't have the epiphany or the revelation of what caused the 2008 financial crisis.
But the other
if we left the United States government being the sole voice of what is right and what is wrong.
No, if there was one sole voice, this pandemic would have went over better, though. Also, you understand?
Who's to say yes or no? Like,
but hey, China said yes.
Do we trust China?
Listen. If we just look off their numbers, we don't know what's going on. We also know what's going on in America. So all we still believe in is what people are telling us. Hearsay.
Yeah.
We don't got numbers, and we're not doing the data. We're not swabbing, vaccine. We're not doing that. So all we got is what the people that you got on here, Kim Iverson, all we got is what they're saying. We didn't do the research. But what I'm saying is, if there was one voice and there was one accord, it might have gone differently. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if that would have been the case. But
just remember, there were people out there
having one voice and how they
based off of voices.
It happened.
And there were people having horse parasite pills. All right, based off of voices they were hearing off the internet.
Well, the horse parasite pills was some bullshit because CNN spun that narrative, because that shit came from a conversation Joe Rogan had, and he confronted CNN Surgeon General Dr. Sanjay Gupta on that bullshit.
But like, everybody, listen, you had the president talk about drinking bleach, so we can't even go down that rabbit hole, because that was a
what I'm saying
knew what was going on, so people was just saying shit out their ass. Like, it was exactly what it was. They still don't know what's going on. That's why they're changing that 5 days, 10 days. They don't know.
That's what I'm saying. They're shitting, but
we started the whole conversation off with, I think, Black Zeus' question about building a plane while flying. We are still building it. We are only halfway building this plane.
I get that, but when you say listen to one, if you say listen to one dissenting voice, I'll break it down like this.
I said there was never one voice, though.
But what I'm saying, there's never been one voice. But I'll say if you say that we should be
if we had a president that was in that position, a president, I don't care who it is, that said this is what we're going through and this is what we need to do, and there was one message, it might have gone across differently than.
I don't think so. Because
you having scientists saying one thing and you having the leader of the free world saying something totally different.
And then you have scientists who's getting this shit wrong. And then you have this current administration conceding to the fact that they were wrong. Joe Biden this week basically said, yo, you know what? This pandemic, this shit was way over my fucking head. You know what? This is going to be run on the state level.
That's not what he said. He said...
I summarized it.
He should have more tests.
He
said he should have more tests.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Is that with science, there's always a chance of being wrong. There's no such thing as 100%. That's the whole reason why we are now
I never said that, but I've always said...
Like we're finding out that baby powder can cause, cancerous issues.
I've said that in the past.
Later.
But that's what I'm saying. We're listening to one dissenting voice when we don't allow for more voices. That's what I'm saying. Like, yo,
but what I'm saying is we didn't have one voice. We had voices. Is what I'm saying. I'm arguing.
I don't. But you're saying all right.
Voices.
I get what you.
Voice that said, "This is the voice of God. This is what we need to do." You know why the voice comes over the loudspeaker? We never had one voice. We had all these other people saying everything. Everybody was coming out the woodwork saying.
But here's the thing: we kind of did though, because
wait. Everybody with that question that says, There was no experts. There was no equal level of knowledge. There was no equal level of experience. There was no equal level of resources on the internet. There were too many voices talking about.
But at the same time, but yo, the reason why I said that there was still one voice in some regards is because yo, the CDC, a lot of businesses and individuals were still having to adhere to guidelines set by the CDC.
But they wasn't a voice, though, in the CDC.
How wasn't there a voice? The CDC was constantly doing these round tables with various media newswork.
Constantly being manipulated by the president that was in office, bro.
But they're doing it now. Yo, look. I get
they're manipulated, and they had to give messaging based off not on science, but based off what the president wanted out there.
And the CDC continued the CDC continued to get shit wrong, even with the current administration. Did they not?
They always had it wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yo, but that's what all I'm saying is
they always had it wrong because they never dealt with the science. They only dealt with the man, bro.
That's what and I agree with. That's what I'm saying. Like,
man, you're never going to get the science right because you're dealing with a person instead of dealing with the facts.
But the thing is, what I did, and Smith, you've agreed with me in this past. Like, the problem I've had with this whole, so-called questioning so-called experts is. These experts have decades of experience. I'm not talking about some random nigga down the street who got a fucking, I don't know, like a one of those conspiracy aluminum hat. Or we're talking about credible doctors who are not giving the platform to at least debate.
Credible doctors did what? Get shut down because you're not delivering the message that the man wants delivered.
But then what if the message that the man wants to deliver is a harmful message?
Listen, the credible doctors aren't getting a platform because the man don't want you to put that message out. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I want my narrative out. I don't care about I want what I'm saying out. I don't want you to come up here and say what you're saying that goes against what I'm saying.
No, here's the
that's
problem.
What happened. Let me say this right quick. When that black nurse came out with them other doctors, when them doctors came out, all spoke on Trump behalf and said Trump was right.
Yeah,
that was fixed, man. That wasn't science. That's all I'm saying. Deal with the science. Don't deal with the politics of it.
Here's what I'm saying. Is the fact of, the problem is, yes, there should be one voice to speak whatever the end result is. But the whole thing is there should be somewhere where all these guys, if you have evidence, if you have science, here's where you insert, here's where you drop your knowledge, your information, and have it vetted. You don't throw it into the public arena that has no knowledge, no understanding, and say, "Hey, people, this is what I think." No, that's not how you do it.
Hold up. But what if you're a doctor and you're trying? Hold up. What if you're a doctor at Johns Hopkins, and you have a different point of view? And I want to play the first 6 minutes of this fucking video because this shit has gone viral, and I've been echoing this shit for the past 2 years. What if you're a doctor at some university lab and you see something different from what Dr. Fauci said, and you try to send that shit to the CDC, to Dr. Fauci, to the administration, and they say, you know what? We don't want what you have to say because we have this different message that we want to have. Fuck your science because we want to have this political message. Because I want to play this fucking clip, and this is exactly what Fauci and the fucking CDC has been doing all this time. It's not that because what you're doing is, when you reject my science and I'm trying to share with you like, yo, I think you guys are going about it wrong and you're straight up rejecting it, you leave me no choice but to just throw it out there to the public. That's what they do with Afghanistan. That's what the New York Times had to do. You think the New York Times ran through the fucking Obama administration and told them like, yo, there's no war against weapons? When the New York Times realized like, yo, this shit is all a hoax, what they do, they published an article and they just threw it out there. They just threw it out there. They didn't give a fuck what the administration had to say. It's that we can't, for this entire pandemic shutdown, all I've been hearing is trust the science. You question Dr. Fauci, you questioning the science. But we read countless of books of like, dude, I'm not saying that you said that. I'm saying what happens in the public media. I'm shit you not. They said that if you don't trust Dr. Fauci has said it himself. If you question me, you question science. Nigga, that's dangerous. He said that shit. Dr. Fauci said, yo, if you don't trust me, you don't trust science. Everything we've discussed about what is science, what entails science, for him to be so narcissistic and even make that fucking statement rings alarm bells. He said that.
This is the reason why. The same reason why you have separation. The economy. The same reason why you have a separation between church and government is the same reason you should probably have a separation between science and government. Because the same way the church would have influence on the government would have influence on the way the science is being communicated. So the whole thing is that, that is where the problem is. If you could take the politics out of organizations such as the WHO or CDC or health department, so forth, so that the science can come forward.
I agree. Yeah,
the people that are working in those industries, they are being objective. They are living the science, and they want to get that information out. But the problem is, if your overseers are politicians who want to get reelected, and they can remove you from your position or defund your organization, much like what happened, what you said with the Obama administration, defunding the organization that was supposed to put together things for a pandemic. That's where your problem is. So you need to create a health or a CDC organization that is not overseen or directed by the politicians. Like, they have no power over that. The same way as the Federal Reserve operates independently from the government.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve operates independently from the government. How does that make sense? It makes some sense, yes, where the fact of, a president can't just write himself a check out of the Federal Reserve, but the whole thing is, why are we applying that same logic when it comes to the health and science? Like, at least that way, it's like, listen, you'll get the solid information from the scientists of the CDC and the WHO and so forth and so on. But once you get that science, now it's up to the government on how they want to apply that shit.
I agree. But when I just feel like there's people like Fauci who feels like he's the end all be all when it comes to this shit, I think that's also dangerous.
Fauci is tied into the politicians. You don't think that a man that's been sitting in his position, as long as he's been sitting in his position, underneath president after president, and they're telling like, yeah, you're gonna be the man. You're the one that's in charge. You get to say this, that, and the other. But if you want to continue being that man, you better, play ball with me and make sure you make me look good. But if something go wrong, I'm putting the noose around your neck. But you'll still have a job. Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Don't forget that every president comes in, that when they come in, they create policy and legislation that they only expect to really last during their administration. After their administration, even if they do 2 consecutive, after their administration is over, whatever happens when the house is on fire, when they pass it on, that's the next person's problem. You know what I mean? Bush did it to Clinton. Reagan did it to Bush. Bush did it to Clinton. Clinton did it to Bush. Bush passed it on Obama.
Obama passed it on Trump. Trump is passing it on Biden. Yeah, I get that. But what I don't like is the narrative that this entire time, people, not you, people in the mainstream media has sort of like said, this is all rooted in the science. And I'm like, this hasn't been. And they haven't been truly honest about that. At least you could have an honest conversation like, yeah, there's some science involved, but yes, I could also acknowledge there's some politics involved in that. People are completely being disingenuous and saying like, no, this all been science.
Yeah, but these are the same people that are disingenuous and saying that, Hakeem identifies as a woman and Schubert identifies as Dem, and Pratt identifies some of the information and the things that we had never thought about as far as quarantine, as far as containment, the history. I found that all very, very very, very interesting, and I love the information that it brought to light, especially being all the conversations we've had in prior about the whole COVID thing. But there was another aspect of it that was like, it did seem like it did drag on a little bit, where some information I'm just like, that's not really necessary. It wasn't that much of a gem. It was more like just filler, So I gave it a 4 out of 5.
All right, 4 out of 5.
Very informative. I gave it a 4 out of
5. Oh, well, my bad.
I mean, got a mouthful of nuts, no homo, in his mouth.
Popcorn, man. Popcorn.
Oh, correction, popcorn.
Got a mouthful of kernels.
Don't choke, motherfucker. Like,
no, I just need a little bit because it was sitting here. That's all. But,
what you got?
Oh, well, I got. Well, like this book at this time for me, right? This is Until Proven Safe. It was cool. I like some of the later chapters.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, that's what pulled me in the later chapters. Early chapters had me like,
yeah, the earlier chapters was a little bit. Some of them was becoming redundant and stuff. But I would give it my rating, my overall feeling about the whole book. I'm gonna go with because I'm thinking. I remember, we don't do halves, but I remember between my 3 and my 4. I go with the 4 at the higher end. I did, like I said, it was the later chapters that helped me to get in.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be unanimous. With giving it a 4. Well, no, Kelvin gave it a 3, but I give it a 4. I didn't necessarily found it redundant. I did find some information like some historical stuff like it's informative, but I didn't necessarily care for it. But the later chapters with the planetary, quarantine, I didn't even think along those lines, to be honest, when it came to quarantine. I was just like, damn, I just thought viruses. I didn't think along those lines of like you going out of space, you bringing a foreign, object and shit to, that sort of stuff. I love the cases, how, quarantine has been battled in cases in regards to like a nurse in New Jersey having to deal with Ebola that led to changes in quarantine, how quarantine is done. I found all that great. I think for me, I felt like this book was prematurely written if you're going to talk about our existing situation with COVID. I felt like this book could have been held maybe been done a year or two out because of that. I felt like they're short-sighted with some of their analysis regarding what's going on with COVID. And not necessarily they were wrong, but they were wrong because they were talking about the wet forms in COVID, where now it's speculated to what you pointed out earlier, Smith, that this probably came from a fucking lab of some sort. So I felt like in that regards, it's a small ding, but I did ding them on that. Like, but I give it a 4. I give it a 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. And I also learned the difference between quarantine and isolation. I really didn't know there was a fucking difference. I kind of lumped it all the same.
Yeah, no, it's different.
Yeah.
You can make it comfortable, or you can make it could be not comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was surprised. I was surprised that this was Kelvin's book selection coming from a person that said he was done talking about COVID and knowing where this conversation was gonna go. I was kind of done talking about COVID, but in all honesty, it really even further made me challenge my beliefs. Like I said before, I've come around to some regards to aspects of what Schubert has to say regarding privacy and liberty and what that means communal wise. I shocked the hell, like I said, I shocked the hell out of myself yesterday when I came to that conclusion about quarantining when you go to foreign places across the globe. And yeah, I think you should quarantine, just because of that. If you had asked me that, or if I would have posed that question a couple of months ago, I'd have been like, nah, what are you talking about? But giving it some thought, having these sort of discussion has definitely opened my mind in regards of the importance of community, your relationship to community, and what it means. So,
and how it affects animals and plants and vegetables and all types.
Yeah, like all of that shit, man. So I give it it's a 4 out of 5. So if we were to fucking do the math, what's that? 3.5 out of fucking 5 because of Kelvin's bullshit 3.
Mm-hmm.